Chapter 4, The First Rungs of the Ladder, Vivian Paley. Nearly everything in my training as a teacher led me to believe that the questions were supposed to come from me. Preoccupied by my own questions, I did not perceive that the books I so eagerly read to the children were not the only or even the primary source of stories in the classroom. The children were, in fact, natural-born storytellers who created literature as easily as I turned the pages of a book. It was not that I doubted the children's seriousness, but I did not follow their words as I would those of a novelist or a playwright. The Brontes must have rehearsed similar themes as they played on the moors of West Yorkshire, yet I gave no thought to such possibilities. I could see that the children's play promoted a long list of social, emotional, verbal, and physical skills that could be reported in a fairly straightforward manner. However, I skipped over the end result, a phenomenon not as easy to capture on a checklist. The children were inventing stories that sounded as if they came from an earlier place in the common narrative from the first rungs on the ladder of storytelling. Pretend I'm your baby dinosaur, and I'm lost, a child might say, and then you call me, but I don't come because I have a different name now. And then you hear a noise, and you think it's a wolf, but you can't call me because you don't know my name now. This child knows how to play, I would note. She is able to include other children and thus be a friend, but I would pass over the story the child had imagined and the questions of identity being posed. Furthermore, the previous day it may have been the mother dinosaur who was lost and the baby who searched. Roles were constantly being switched and stories unraveled and reissued in different forms, but I confused the extraordinary with the mundane. Even when I overheard conversations that were startling and profound, I seldom recognized the uniqueness of this activity that so preoccupied the children. Pretend I'm a big sister just like you, said a little girl climbing out of a doll corner crib. I'm not a baby anymore, I'm you. No, don't pretend that, cautioned her playmate, suddenly remorseful, stepping out of her role. Don't be like me because I'm really bad. Like the wolf? Oh, wait, now, it's okay, I'm a good sister now. Had I not heard these lines before? Isn't this what the older brother warns the younger brother in Long Day's Journey into Night? Watch out for me. Eugene O'Neill has Jamie tell Edmund, I'm no good and I'll try to bring you down to where I am. But I'm being a good brother now to tell you this. You have a right to object. Can one really make so much of doll corner talk? At one time, I might have protested myself, even when I became curious about the substance of the endless conversations carried on as the children played. I still do not grasp the literary dimensions of their spontaneous dialogues, nor did I wonder why the children were usually more interested in each other's responses than in anything I read to them from a book. Are you bad like the stepsister and I can't go to the ball? Pretend I'm your mother and I stay home and play with you. Had I listened more closely, I would have heard, among other secrets, that when one is young, almost every story begins with and turns to a mother and child. Since I had my own fantasies of being a storyteller, I would have done well to follow some of the themes repeated by the children in their play. I had no illusions of becoming a Beatrix Potter or an E.B. White, but saw my role as a spinner of little tales the sort that would make me a more interesting teacher, or make teaching more interesting to me. I lacked the spontaneity that might bridge those awkward transitions when our connections to each other are blurred, and even the most familiar book or song doesn't cut through the loneliness and restlessness of school days. The children jumped easily into the voids. They resurrected earlier disguisers. Now I'm Batman, and you be Joker, or they corrected injustices. You always get to be Batman, and I never am. When nothing more dramatic came to mind, they maintained contact by grabbing at one another. Anything to keep connections alive. These were not the links I coveted, yet the children and I shared similar goals to use fantasy to calm our anxieties and reassemble ourselves along promising paths, skipping along together like Dorothy and her new friends in The Wizard of Oz. My stories, however, felt awkward and forced, not in rhythm with the children's themes. I rarely paused to listen to the narratives blooming everywhere in the garden of children in which I spent my days. I saw myself as the bestower of place and belonging of custom and curriculum, too often ignoring the delicate web being constructed by the children in their constant exchange of ideas, the moment I stopped talking and they resumed playing. Pretend I'm the good mother. Is there a mean one? The step one? No, only one mother, the nice one. Let's both be baby sisters, and our nice mother isn't lost yet. Was she lost, or are we lost? Not yet, no one is lost. This is the part where we're still happy. What can this mean, the part where we're still happy? Do the children envision a Garden of Eden? And is this what they try to recreate in their play? If only I could return to that doll corner scene and ask the players what they meant. Their responses would make an elegant conversation. These were the dialogues that had begun to fill my journals. And there was never enough time to follow every intriguing notion and original idea, but it was clear that the children knew it was up to them to begin each day's narrative.